Are you about to renovate your kitchen, but you don't exactly know how to pick the kitchen pendants that will be hanging over your island? If so, this video is for you. Hey people, my name is Natalie Lee, and I would love to be your best friend, interior designer, construction encourager, and all the things. I actually own a design and construction company here in Georgia, and my videos are supposed to be fun, educational, helping you along the path to interior design, home renovation, and all the things alike. So today, I want to talk to you about something that a lot of people ask me about, obviously clients ask me about, is how do you pick a kitchen pendant that's going to be hanging over your kitchen island? So there's several different rules that you want to go through and checkpoints that you want to pass for whatever you choose. So the first thing is you got to ask yourself, like, what is the pendant going to be used for? And you're like, duh, obviously it's lighting in my kitchen. But the reason I say to ask that is because in your kitchen, there's going to be different lighting. So is your pendant going to be, or pendants, typically there's not just one, but are your pendants going to be used for ambient lighting, meaning setting the mood? Or is it gonna be functional lighting where you're planning on using them because you do a lot of baking and you're gonna be doing some decorating? You've gotta have some precise bright lighting over your island. So first you gotta come up with the function of it, because that will really depend on the type of fixture you use. Most of the time when I'm designing a kitchen or doing a home renovation for a client, the pendants are actually just what I called a layer of the lighting. We typically suggest that you have can lights in your ceiling, ample amount. So if you need that bright working light, or you really got to see everything, you're doing a deep clean and you want to see everything in there, make sure your can lights are bright and optimized. There's so many different things. We can talk about that perhaps in another video. If you want that, let me know. So your pendants are more for an aesthetic, a look. Yes, there's some function to it. I know in our kitchen, we typically just use the pendants as the main light because I'm not a big fan of harsh overhead lighting. So our pendants are functional, but they are also more just an ambient vibe. So first up, pick the function. Once you have that function, especially if it's going to be sort of an ambient layered lighting effect, you can choose whatever you want. And I know that sort of really opens the door wide, but I say that because if you need a functional light where you need the down lighting on your countertop, again, say you're doing cookie decorating, you're gonna wanna have something that does not have a cover on the bottom of the light shining down. That's a big deal. So again, if it's functional, that's a whole separate conversation. You're gonna wanna find something that has an open bottom, direct light, a certain wattage of bulb, depending on what you're trying to do. But for most of us, it's gonna fall under that layered ambient lighting. So just know if that's your function, then the door is wide open and we can have some fun choosing what looks good. Most of the time now we're seeing pairs of pendants versus the groupings of 3. That was something that we saw a lot in the past. So if you see here, here's a couple pictures of pairs of pendants that I'm talking about. These are some of my favorites. You'll see one here in a woven material, and then we have a cool one in glass and also metal. So that's where either you're gonna have to have a design in mind of where you're trying to go with your design, or have a designer like me to help you make those decisions and pick a direction. So trend is pairs of pendants, typically larger than they used to be. It used to be teeny tiny little pendants, 5 to 8 inches wide, and now we're seeing pendants up to, gosh, on some larger islands, 25, 30 inches. Let me show you, I have a tape measure here, but before it was, again, little, sorry, it's upside down for you. Look, you'd see little pendants hanging over islands, and now we're seeing some that go even up to sort of 30 inches wide in size over a larger island. So it really is something that you want to think through what kind of effect you want for your kitchen. So that leads us into after trends. Now we do need to talk about size. It was funny, I just look at stuff and I can tell if it looks right. I don't have this formula in my mind of, oh, the pendant for this kitchen, or if I'm working with a client, it must be 18 to 24 inches. No, I just kind of have a sense of what it should be, but I know not all of you have you know, have that eye. That's probably why you're watching this video, and that's okay. There are some formulas, and I thought it'd be kind of funny to pull up on ChatGPT and see what it said for kitchen island pendants, and it actually said, I wrote it down here, that you need to measure your island and then divide that length by 5 or 6 to get the size of pendant that you need for your island. So it's pretty interesting, and I'll show you my island later, but my island is 111 inches long, and divided by 5 or 6, I think it's like 22 inches, well, or 18 inches actually, and my pendants are 15 inches. So it doesn't have to be this exact formula, but if you need something to sort of base some kind of, idea off of, you can use the ChatGPT approved formula of measure your kitchen island and divide it by 5 or 6 to get your pendant size. But again, that's not gonna play into the human aesthetic, why I don't think, AI could ever fully take over design, because there's so many elements that only you can see and feel yourself. You may want something larger than that depending on the vibe you're looking for. So that's a good little rule of thumb. Measure your island, divide by 5 or 6 if you're doing this on your own and you just need to kind of get some ballpark, but don't stress over that if the pendant that you choose is a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. So there's your rule of thumb, and now let's talk about the next thing. All right, so we're back to talking about materials that you would want to select for your pendant. And I'm circling back to this because it matters. First, you want to see what your design aesthetic is. Again, if you're beachy, do you want something with a fabric or woven material, some caning, anything like that? Or do you want it to be a little sleek and modern and you want to have some metal in there? When you do that, just know, again, especially, I'll show you again my kitchen. My kitchen has champagne bronze fixtures. Your pendants and faucet and knob do not have to be the exact same finish. So many vendors have different variations on the colors that they produce. So getting a full match is gonna be next to impossible. Don't let that stress you out. And I'm gonna even layer that on. If you're doing a brushed bronze in your faucet and your knob, you can actually do a polished bronze for your pendants. That's okay. It doesn't all have to match. Keeping it in the same color family. The only thing I would be a little bit wary of is if your fixtures are a cooler tone and then your pendant, you don't want to get it too warm. And this is why some people may end up wanting to hire a designer or get a consultation. But you want to make sure, when I say cooler, it might read a little more blue or a little colder in tone, and then you wouldn't really want to pair that with a bright yellow brass fixture in your room. So the colors need to be friends. Again, look online, sort of see inspirations of what designers are putting together, but it does not need to be an exact match. So have some fun with it. And if your pendant, again, is ambient lighting and you just want it to be a decor piece, it doesn't even have to match your faucet and your knobs and hardware. It could be an accent color that you plan to use elsewhere in the space or in adjoining spaces. So for instance, you may want to choose a black pendant, black hardware, say with white glass, and pair that with, perhaps you're going to have black fixtures containers for your utensils and different elements in the space that will have some black, or artwork in the kitchen that has black. So that black can be the only fixture that has black in the space, as long as you tie it together with other things in the space. So once you have your color picked out, you're going to want to think about cleaning. Yes, and here's the deal. One of the reasons I've actually found success in the designing marketplace is because I think of function for my clients. Sure, I want everything to be beautiful, but if you're not gonna keep it clean, I don't want you to have it, because that's gross. I walk into restaurants, I walk into people's homes, and I'm like, that's a beautiful light fixture, but nobody's cleaning it. And you'll notice that. Look in a restaurant, especially if there's intricate lighting. When the restaurant first opens, it looks so beautiful. Oh, great, it's like art, yay. And then go back in 6 months to a year and you're gonna look up and you're just gonna see greasy, dusty buildup, because people install it without the function in mind of keeping it clean and maintenance. So the same thing goes for your kitchen pendants. If you cook a lot and you are using a lot of oils to cook and you don't have a vented hood that sucks the air out of your home, I would say you may want to lean away from any woven woven material for your pendants. Because that material, if it's like say a drum pendant or like a wicker fabric, or not fabric, but a wicker pendant, that oil and dust is going to stick on there and give it a greasy film over time. And you just don't want that. So you've got to be able to think, okay, do I cook a lot? Is this near the stove? Is my house vented out? Am I gonna commit to cleaning this item? Same thing goes with glass. I absolutely love glass pendants in kitchens. I think it's a beautiful thing. It adds some reflection and some style, and I'll show you mine, but even in my kitchen, I knew I didn't want to commit to a clear glass fixture in my kitchen. We cook a lot. I've got kids, dog, people coming and going all the time, so therefore there's dust in the air and all that kind of good stuff, and I wanted that glass to be sparkly and clean. So what I did is I chose a frosted white glass, and again, stay tuned, we'll go to my kitchen, I'll show you, but that is easier, so you won't see that greasy buildup quite as much as if it was a clear glass where you're gonna see every fingerprint, anything that settles on there, you're gonna have to clean it. So definitely keep that in mind. Metals as well, you're going to have to wipe down. Some coppers you'll have to clean with certain solutions and make sure that you maintain it to the finish that you want it to be, otherwise it will patina over time and there's different things. So definitely keep the material in mind, especially if you're going to be cleaning it. Not only the material, but the shape of the pendant. And again, I'll show you in mine, but mine has a dome bottom, but anything can go in the top and land. So yes, I am climbing on top of my island to get in there and clean out the bugs that inevitably fall in there or the dust that settles. So you just have to know every fixture is going to have some level of maintenance, especially in a kitchen. So be aware of that. Can you get to the parts that need to be cleaned from your island space? Are you committed to taking care of the fixture to make sure it always looks as good as when it's installed? If the answer is no, then you need to find something else. I don't care how beautiful it is. If you're not gonna maintain it, keeping it up, making it beautiful, don't install it. Okay, so before we head into my kitchen, I wanted to show you a few favorites. So if you're getting ready to design or renovate, you have some links to some products that you like. So I'm gonna link all of these from Wayfair in my description box. Hopefully that works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But you can also go over to LTK, Design Build Style. We are there as well. We are on Facebook. We are all the places. We wanna be the resource for you for community and questions and learning and having fun. So here are a few fixtures from Wayfair that I think are awesome and are on trend. So first up, let's start with one of these wicker, super large pendant type deals. So I found this one here. I think it's a great vibe. This would again be beautifully paired, yeah, so two of them over a kitchen island. If you like more of a lighter, airier space, gosh, you know, this would be so great if you knew someone, if you were an electrician or very handy. You could even swap these out seasonally. I think this gives a beautiful spring, summer vibe, and then switch to something else in fall and winter. And don't yell at me in the comments for that. I know that's a very something that most people are not going to be doing, but if you know someone, that's a cool thing. But I love this vibe. Again, I think it's very beachy, light, and airy. Next up, here is one that I think is sort of a modern, traditional, sort of the vibe of what you'll see in my kitchen. Goes, you know, well with many different things. It's got a beautiful champagne bronze finish, and I think it is a classic look that will give you some design longevity. And that's the thing, guys. Design changes all the time, so trying to buy something that's gonna last forever design-wise, it's just not feasible. Do your best, you gotta choose what you like, but just know there's always a design cycle. But if you're happy with it, then it will be great. So this is a good one. And then here's a black one that I like a lot. I think it's got a nice look to it that would pair well with a lot of different elements in many different kitchens. So again, these are just a few of the ones that I see out on the marketplace that I like a lot. And another place that you might want to consider shopping is shadesoflight.com. I really enjoy that website. We go there a lot. You can also look at ferguson.com. It was formerly build.com. We do a lot of shopping there as well. So those are just a few of the resources. Again, you can always comment here. When I post these videos, I want to start growing interaction with you guys and ask questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them quickly as you're working on your different projects. So ask me a question if you're thinking about something that has to do with pendants and renovating, and I will do my best to get back with you. So now let's head to my kitchen. Okay, so here we are in my personal kitchen, obviously that I have designed, and I'll show you my pendants. So first up, do you notice there how we have the can lighting? The can lighting is the functional light that I was talking about. I have those dimmed right now, just so you can see the pendants more, but these are the pendants that I chose. Now, if I step back, you will see I did two, they are just about 15-inch pendants over my 111-inch island. I love the vibe of it. I didn't want them blocking the space, and that's something too. You wanna make sure, try and put those in the frame, you wanna make sure that as you're designing, my kitchen is open to my living room. As you see here, this is the transition. I'm about to step into the living room. So when you're making these design selections, you wanna make sure that your pendants are not blocking your view, especially if you've done a whole lot of renovation that you wanna make sure you see the different elements. So when you choose a super large pendant, that's totally fine, but make sure it fits the vibe. I always like the eye line to feel as long as possible, meaning if I'm standing all the way over here in my living room, I wanna make sure I can get a good clear view all the way to that, say, vent hood, to make sure that it feels as big as possible. Now, some kitchens, that may not be a concern. You want something that is just hanging right in the space and giving you that vibe right there, and you're not concerned about that same visual eye line, but that's something you have to keep in mind. And especially if you choose a darker, heavier, opaque pendant, it's going to make the space, the visual field, smaller. So if this was a full dome pendant, again, it would just make it feel bigger. So the fact that part of it is open and part is concealed is a little trick that it still lets the visual go all the way through, but it gives something to sort of anchor the space. Now, every space is different, so you can't say, you know, this pendant would work in your kitchen. But that's sort of a good rule of thumb, is you don't want to block anything. And now when you're choosing the height of where to hang them is typically about 36 inches off of the countertop. But again, you want to make sure that that functions for your space. When we were hanging ours, I had my husband and the guys I work with stand here and then look from the living room. I wanted to make sure that you wouldn't be standing right there and your head looked like it's about to hit the pendant. I didn't want the pendant getting in the way of conversation or being too low. So 36 inches off the countertop is sort of a good measure point, but it's not going to be exact. You've got to see what works for you in your space. And for cleaning, like I said, I just climb up. I just get my little bar stool, climb on up, and then get in there and clean the pendants. So you have to think of the function and see what works for your space. I did a brushed champagne finish on the pendant and I matched it differently to my faucet. And this is a Delta faucet, their champagne bronze color, which is the best color on the marketplace in my opinion. But again, it's a match, but not an exact match. Again, you don't have to freak out about little exact things like that. Do what fits in the same color family, but don't freak out about it. Just enjoy the process and go from there. And then my last tip is when you're doing your lighting, and again, I want to do some more lighting videos, but for your pendants, put them on a dimmer. It's definitely a game changer. And again, if you want to use your lights, let me see if I can just show you what I mean. So if I turn off the main lights and then, so here, if you're in the evening and you want to dim them down or you just want to use them as a night light. Sorry, I'm trying to hold my camera steady here for you. So you can brighten them up, then they work more functionally, but a lot of times in the evening or early morning, you just dim them, then you have that whole vibe. So it's just more comforting. It's not so harsh, not so aggressive. It's not like an on-off situation. You can tailor it to your needs. So again, put everything on a dimmer and yeah, hopefully you learned a little something. I really hope that you guys find these videos helpful. I want to build a community here. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of videos you guys like. I'm going to try some vlogging. I'm going to do some instructional, some informational. I do want it to feel sort of like a variety show of stuff. So when you see me pop up on your feed, you click because you kind of want to see what I'm up to today. I'd love to get to know you guys a little bit more. So feel free to drop a comment if you have a question, a video you want to see in the future. And it would really, really help me if you do click like and you do subscribe so I know I'm on the right track to give you guys the content that you are looking for. So thank you for watching and I hope to see you soon. And just keeping it real, when I realized I was going to film stuff in my kitchen, I did not do a big cleaning for you. I just put all my junk on the floor. Have a good one.